Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Subid back with another fresh episode of Hello Kolkata, Kolkata Calling's very own podcast series. We started this podcast series at the start of this year, and very quickly, we've already done 4 episodes. Today, we are back with episode 5. I hope we are improving as we go along. We would also like to thank all the speakers and guests who have come uh, in the past episodes. Without them, we would have got started. So a big thank you to all of them. A big thank you to all our listeners and community members who continue to give us feedback, continue to give us love and support. That's what keeps us going, and the love for Kolkata, of course. Apart from that, I also wanted to call out a special milestone that we recently hit. When we started Kolkata Calling's podcast, we just hit 16K members, community members. Yesterday, we hit 17K. These are just numbers and milestones, I know, and we want to continue to grow. But thank you to everybody who loves the page, follows the community, and is an active member in giving us feedback, tagging us on important news and announcements related to Calcutta, which show our city in a positive light. Talking about that, while we continue to post, positive news and development that change the perception of the city, we also get some comments which highlight some of the deficiencies or inefficiencies that we have. And we know that we are not perfect, we are far from it. But we would love to continue to focus on the positives. And as I tell everybody that I speak to, that for negative news around Calcutta or Bengal, there are plenty of news channels and outlets which you can follow. But if you're looking for something positive around Calcutta, and if you continue to believe and love the city as much as we do, I think Kolkata Calling is the place. So please feel free to follow the page, share with your friends, family, and help us continue to grow. So with that, let me now get into our business for today, which is our guest. Today, we are speaking with Rashmita Parija. Rashmita is the HR head India of Lexmark International. And I'll just quickly give a brief intro of Rashmita, and then I'll introduce her onto the main stage. So Rashmita is heading HR head India for Lexmark. She comes with 20 plus years of work experience in the field of HR, and she's worked with multiple large conglomerates and multinational organizations like Infosys, Atos, before she joined Lexmark, and she's done a variety of roles in different geographies as well. Apart from that, she's also a very passionate professional speaker at universities and public events. We've all seen those that she's been part of. She's also a passionate panelist on topics such as DEI, which we'll get into today, inclusive leadership, employer branding, and creating impact. Even more, she's also a mentor to early and mid-career professionals, guiding them on their journey, and also coach to many senior level professionals in their career. So we'll get into those aspects of coaching and mentoring today as well. A little bit about her educational background. She holds a degree in strategic human resource management from IIM Calcutta, a degree in executive coaching from Henley Business School, and a PGDM in management from IFIM Business School. And a little bit about Lexmark, but we'll hear more from Rashmita as well. But Lexmark is essentially an innovative global imaging and IoT solutions global leader, headquartered out of Lexington, Kentucky. Lexmark creates cloud-enabled imaging and IoT technologies for their customers for delivering business outcomes. They have around 8,000 plus employees spread across multiple countries. And most importantly for us, Lexmark India headquarters is in Kolkata itself and is fast growing. So we'll get into the hiring plans in Kolkata with Rashmita as well. So without much further ado, let me now bring in Rashmita onto the main stage. Rashmita, welcome to Hello Kolkata podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone who's listening in. And thank you, Subhi and Hello Kolkata, or rather Kolkata Calling as a stage, which is, so thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. And I know you're extremely busy and it's a Sunday, your off day, and we sort of dragged you into this, but really, really appreciate you taking the time for our community to talk to us. Rashmita, I'll get started. And obviously, HR is very close to my heart. I also did my education. So I'm an HR by education, but then somehow I landed into sales by profession. you have had a very illustrious career in HR. Would love to know a little bit about your background and how you got started into HR, and then your journey over the years.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think, I would like to say this that one fine morning, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I woke up and I decided I need to help the people, so I want to be an HR. Sorry,
Oh,
that's far from reality story, by the way.
I was
So
wondering because why HR is a very tricky question people ask us in interviews. So yeah, go ahead.
true. Yeah. So that as I said, that is far from reality. That's not exactly how it happened. So I consider myself an accidental HR. I
Mhm.
graduated with my MBA with finance and HR both, but I had happened to land my first job in HR. And
Okay.
I would say thanks to the interviewer or my manager then, who happened to see that spark or whatever he saw in me at that point in time, which I could definitely not see in myself, that I could make a good HR professional. And from then on, I think I fell in love with the whole profession and the whole doing of it. And that's how I happen to be an HR professional. So I still sometimes sit back and think, saying that, is this how my journey was planned? Not sure if it was planned this way, but it happened to be this way.
Okay.
Yes, it started with my tenure with Infosys, where I started my career in HR, my first job, and it was a dream company at the point of time when I came in and joined Infosys. And I think I have this little story which says that as a student of MBA, I was visiting somebody in Infosys campus in Bangalore, and I saw a set of people sitting on the grass and actually trying to do something on their laptop, and it
Mhm.
was an eye opener. So people can still work not being in office. For me,
Wow.
work office meant 9 to 5, and
Hmm.
that's when it became a dream company. That this is the place that I would love to come and work. And coincidentally, happily, fortunately, it worked out, and that happened to
Yeah.
be my first workplace. But it also opened my eyes to the limitless possibilities within
Hmm.
HR itself. HR did not just mean, being on the sideline, being a support function, but it helped me to open my eyes, helped me to make my journey, wherein I moved in from various roles within Infosys. I moved into other roles in Atos, which was more of consulting and managing sales as well as managing as business partnering. So various such roles. And eventually, I think while trawling through my journey and, kind of working through it with various, I would say with us periods where there were commas, there were no full stops that I used. There were
Hmm.
more of commas that I used. But then I had the privilege of working with some amazing people in this journey. And that's been my journey in the field of HR.
Wonderful. Yeah, and Infosys campus, I personally love that. I had visited it a couple of times. It's like a microcosm in itself. If you're inside
Yes,
it, you
it
don't
is.
feel like going outside. So I think that's why people in Infosys stay for so long, build their entire career, spend their entire lives in that. And Rashmita, you've also worked across geography. So you've not just worked in India, but you've worked in across the globe. How has that shaped your perspectives in your field and overall as a professional?
I think that's the I was, again, I would use the word fortunate, saying that I was fortunate to have those experiences. Grateful to people who have kind of made this possible for me, and I don't I'm not going to be very minimizing my respect for these people who saw these possibilities. When we think of HR as an opportunity or as an option, a lot of people may tend to think that it is going to be a very desk job, and you don't
Hmm.
have a lot of options available, or there's not a lot of thrill. But I would beg to differ here, because this is where when I say possibilities, when I'm saying limitless possibilities, it is true to that sense that I got the opportunity very early on to go and work in the US,
Mhm.
wherein we used to manage I used to be the HR business partner for a good set of people, about 500 people who were at a client site. But it meant that very early on, I got the whole experience and the challenge of working and managing stakeholders of
Mhm.
different varieties of people. It could be early professionals. It could be people from the client side, in terms of who were working with us and working very closely, understanding them, what drives them, what makes our people tick as well. Because being in a foreign land and having to manage HR, and then I used to be the only person out there. So it means that you're the entire HR department for those set of people. So it is not
Yeah.
a small number to think about. So I think US kind of brought about those learning opportunities. I also had the privilege of working in UK, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a different ballgame altogether when I lived and worked in the UK. Trying to get on, I was just thinking, trying to get on to a completely full tube train in getting myself into London, finding
Yeah.
my way in London, and the first time I ever landed in office, I probably got myself lost a couple of times, and then eventually ended up being there. And the
Yeah.
whole thrill of being working in that kind of an atmosphere. But one thing I would definitely want to mention, people across the globe. I worked in the US, UK, as well as in India extensively. And I worked as a coach as well. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
watching people and working with people very closely. And I would say one thing which connects everyone is empathy and
Mm-hmm.
building those connections. And I
Yeah.
think those connections have stayed with me for my lifetime. Some of these are friendships for lifetime that I have built, that I've been able to build. And this is what makes it unique as well as common in many ways. That people across the board are connected by a certain thread. And that is not uncommon if you
Yeah.
even if you take off all the geographical boundaries of that. But there was a lot of learning process that I went through. Adaptability was one big thing. How do you make sure that you're geared up?
Yeah.
You're geared up to manage these questions which come up. And I have a very small story here, that there was a point of time in UK when I was supposed to go through a exercise of performance appraisal system with a set
Mm.
of leaders. And the leaders were from different locations, and I was located in one location. So there was remote. The heights of it is there were different accents, because there were people
Mm.
from Scotland, there were people
Okay.
from the north of UK, there were people from south of UK, and here I come from India, and I was really maybe about a year into UK at that point in time, still understanding the culture, etc.
Yeah.
But the kind of support that I got, because people understood that
Mm.
it'll be very difficult. We all work remotely these days. We know how it works out, that when somebody is trying to say something, and if the accent is very different, it is going to be an extreme challenge to understand what the person is saying. But they were
Yeah.
all supportive. They were all very friendly, and
Mm-hmm.
they used to make there used to be banter going on in the room, and saying that, okay, I don't think Rashmita got it at the pace that you mentioned it. So let's go a little slow, and let's talk to her at a pace that she can gather her thoughts around. So
Sure.
those are kind of stories that I say. So I think that's why I'm saying, talking about the connect, the empathy,
Yeah.
because it's relationships.
Yeah.
It's human and human relationships that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's what would be my, the thing that I carried, that I got from working across the globe. But good experiences, good learning opportunities, uh,
Yeah.
good adaptability that way. And I think also, you mentioned about me being doing one of my sessions or one of my learning opportunities in the UK. I did my coaching exercise or my
Yes.
coaching session in UK. It's a 1 year course that I did. Again, a very different opportunity, I would think.
This is from
The
Henley.
kind of people. This is from Henley Business School that
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
my coaching course, and a 1 year course which opened my mind to so many possibilities again, and so many kind of people that I met, and the
Mm-hmm.
coaching experiences that you do, and my
Yeah.
experience of being a coach to people from Westminster, to people from business like Toys R Us. I was coaching the CEO of Toys R Us at that point of time. I was
Mm.
coaching somebody from the ministry, as I said, from the Westminster. So
Wow.
he was somebody from the ministry. So I was
Wow.
coaching various ranges of people. So those are the experiences that I have within me, and which I carry forward along with me. So I think
Sure.
that I would definitely talk about this as my experience across the globe.
Yeah. No, wonderful. So, Rashmita, I know, I mean, as a young professional getting into HR, Infosys, Atos, uh, different geographies, as you grow into your role, as you rise in your career, the challenges change, right? I mean, when you're young, when you're new, obviously you get a lot of support from your colleagues, from your managers. But then once you start becoming a manager yourself, once you start becoming a leader yourself, the set of challenges change. And I'll sort of frame this in two ways. How was that personally for you in the professional front? Moving up the hierarchy, getting to leadership roles. and how do you navigate those challenges? And the second is how sort of, and maybe, I mean, if I don't, speak beforehand, but how did that shape your interest into getting into coaching and mentoring? Because you mentioned in UK you took up the course on your own volition to get into coaching. How did those two sort of things come about?
Excellent. I think this is the topic which is closest to my heart, I would think. Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, you rightly mentioned, Subit, that uh, starting your career in HR is a completely different ballgame, and then by the time you're moving up the rungs, it is different. And I wouldn't say it didn't come with its own set of challenges. I think one thing which I also would be very mindful of, and I'm sure a lot of people who are hearing, and a lot of women go through this as a woman professional, particularly,
Mm-hmm.
you're in an early career, you're also early in your adult life, as to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it would mean that while I was learning the ropes, one thing which I have always, kind of kept myself is I keep my ears to the ground and my hands dirty. So I've never
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't I like to learn by making my hands dirty. So that's something which I've always kept going as I have kind of taken up newer and different roles. I've been lucky to also have those opportunities where people have trusted me with bigger roles, even before I was kind of, while I was showing the potential. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
I would tend to think that, and people
Sure.
have been definitely giving me those opportunities. One thing is I have taken a couple of breaks, career breaks, which is
Mm.
understandable when you're running, when you have a family, when you have your husband, your kids, and things like that. So I've got two of mine. So two of them are definitely we talking about two breaks, but also moving countries because I moved from India to UK as part of a assignment which my husband was assigned to, and eventually I ended up working with Atos in UK, which was good for me. But
Mm-hmm.
these were some of the breaks that also I had taken up. But I think one thing which has been extremely good is the leaders that I have worked with, whether it is
Mm-hmm.
man or woman. I wouldn't differentiate between that as well. But the inclusivity that I have seen, or the equity that I have seen in this, today
Mm.
we talk about DEI as a buzzword, yeah, almost
Sure.
like it has to be used in every sense. But
Mm-hmm.
coming back from my first career break when I
Yeah.
had gone out, when I'd taken my maternity and then I kind of extended my leave at that point in time, taking care of my elder child, my leaders were kind of always keeping me in connected with what was happening in the world. And in terms of, I was with Infosys at that point in time, and they used to make sure that I don't feel left out. It is very
Mm-hmm.
easy to feel left out at that point in time, yeah.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
definitely got that opportunity that they used to make sure that I wasn't feeling left out. I was feeling but included. I was feeling that, hey, your job is still there, and we are still
Mm-hmm.
waiting for you whenever you're ready. It's not like we're in a rush to get you ready, but whenever you're ready. So that definitely helped. And those are things I would say which I have definitely tried to keep in mind when I'm giving forward. Whenever I
Mm.
have to, today, when I'm at a leadership position and I'm going to be making those decisions, I am more conscious of how I make those decisions. And with respect to keeping myself, how I went through this journey, I said I'm a continuous learner. I've never
Mm-hmm.
stopped learning. I think you read about three of the things. MBA, of course, which was my
Yeah.
graduation or my master's that I did. But eventually, I've also gone about doing other learning opportunities, whether it is
Mm-hmm.
short or long, doesn't matter.
Mm.
Keep
Yeah.
yourself relevant. I think that's the
Mm.
primary of it. Business appreciates when you bring relevance to the field. Keep
Mm-hmm.
yourself, keep investing in your continuous learning process through a professional development. That is something that will definitely keep you going all the way. It doesn't matter which company you're part of or what you're exactly doing. You could be doing a freelancing, but you still have
Yeah.
to keep yourself relevant, I would think.
Yeah.
Ability to communicate effectively with various stakeholders, a very key aspect of HR. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I think making sure that your communication is clear, making sure that your communication is effective. And one thing which I've also learned in this 20 plus years is data driven. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think data is key. We used to
Yeah.
call it information is the key, but information is actually, when you drill it down, it is the data. When
Yeah.
you are talking to your CEO or you're talking to your CFO or whoever you're talking to, and
Yeah.
you're taking those numbers, that
Yeah.
makes a huge amount of difference. That
Yeah.
helps you to talk about the impact of various initiatives in terms of
Yeah.
numbers. it also helps you to make those strategic recommendations, which is valued.
Mm.
I think that's what is very important for a HR professional.
Well put.
Summing it up, I think I would say, learn the ropes. Don't
Yeah.
Nothing comes easy, and if it comes easy, it's too good to be true. Then it's not there.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're investing in your continuous learning process.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that you can personally give it to yourself, and ability to communicate effectively across stakeholders, and managing various kinds of stakeholders doesn't mean your employees are your stakeholders, your leaders are your stakeholders, your managers are your stakeholders,
Yeah.
everybody is your stakeholder.
Yeah.
And using data to identify trends,
Mm.
measurements, talk, make a story out of the data. That data
Yeah.
should be the one which is doing the story building. I think those were
Yeah.
the things which kind of helped me to get to where I am today.
Yeah.
But I would acknowledge that there is a lot of, you use the word, we before we got here, I think, so you and me were talking about glass ceilings. There is
Yeah.
another word that I've come across, and this was during one of my previous panel discussions: sticky floors. You
Okay.
get to a glass ceiling, that is one part of it, but you have to get off the floor first. Sticky floors
Hmm.
is really important.
Yeah.
The early career women professionals, particularly, we have a lot of other things that also happening in our lives, but we have to
Sure.
make sure that organizations are supportive. We have a supportive family. It kind of helps with when you have all of those. I think that's where I met or made my journey into the coaching and mentoring piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Learning all of these ropes, those stories that I had, I knew that, when I was going through this journey, I was looking for role models. And that was
Hmm.
far and few. I wouldn't say there weren't any. They were, of course, there, but there were far and few that I could find.
But essentially,
And
women role models in those leadership
women role
positions.
models, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely right. Having, I'm not saying a male role model is not the right thing to do. Of course, I was learning quite a bit, but having a role model in a woman, you look up to somebody. You see that,
Sure.
okay, this is what I can get myself into. So this
Yeah.
woman would have also done the similar journey that I did, and that
Sure.
made a difference. So that
Yeah.
is the difference that I was trying to make, I would say.
Yeah. and
Yeah,
and I think, Rashmita, which came out of what you just shared, that you took a couple of breaks in between
yeah,
your career, and a lot of today it's a little in vogue now, but let's say
yes,
5, 10, 15 years ago, this was a strict no, right? Today,
absolutely.
LinkedIn offers the opportunity for you to showcase that you were on a break, doing something on the side, pursuing your passion. But making those decisions, obviously,
Yeah,
personal, family related, or even voluntary, that you want to take a break and pursue something else, taking those kind of decisions and then coming back again into the corporate, right? A lot of mid-career professionals face similar challenges, women especially. When to take that break? Will it impact my career adversely? Will I ever be able to catch in step with my colleagues who did not
yeah.
take that break? So these are some of those concerns that most people share. So would love to understand that aspect when you go into mentoring people, junior to mid career professionals, or even senior professionals, when you go into the coaching mode. Would love to hear how you've seen your mentees navigate those challenges. And when I speak about coaching and mentoring, uh, how do you differentiate between those two, right? So would love to hear
Yeah.
from you on those aspects as well.
Sure. I think I'll start from the last question first and then move on.
Sure.
So the difference between the coaching and mentoring that you said, and it's a very, we used to have these debates in our coaching
Yeah.
sessions or classes that we ran, that where's the difference, or where do you draw the line, or what is it
Hmm.
exactly? I think one, there's a commonality, there is a difference, of course. There's a
Hmm.
commonality is, I believe that the answers are all lying within us.
Hmm.
Yeah, so when I am getting myself, I am putting my hand up saying that, okay, I want a coach for myself or a mentor for myself. I do believe that I have, there is an answer within me that is
Hmm.
existing. It's just that I don't know how to take it up or how to hone it. But the difference between the coaching and mentoring, or the difference part of it, if I talk about, coaching is more about letting that voice come out on its own by asking the right questions. Okay.
Okay.
Mentoring, whereas, could be a leader in that particular area. Maybe, I'm kind of talking to a mentee who may not be the exact same line of work, may not be an HR professional, maybe somebody who's doing maybe a finance for that matter, but learning from my journey. So I have done a journey. So which means that apparently I have had taken those. I take the example of the career break. Yeah. So I've taken those career breaks and I've come back. So how did I make that possible, or what did I think at that point in
Yeah.
time? My mentee would be somebody who'd learn from that journey. Whereas in a coaching, that would be that there's a lot of questioning that you need to do, which is very
Okay.
difficult when you're doing it to yourself. So it's always
Yeah.
easier when a third party is doing it, and somebody who's not connected to you in that sense, not a family, or not a friend or whatever. Friends can do it. I'm not saying they can't do it, but just that it works out a little more easier when you have somebody who's unconnected. So I think that's how I would point out the difference between the two.
Okay.
And coming to your question around, yes, career breaks, I think at a point of time, 20 plus years of experience, you rightly said 10 years, 15 years down the line, it was not something which was very common. And we used to,
Yeah.
I think there was a point of time when LinkedIn didn't offer it, of course. And we used to kind of, I think me and women at that point in time, we used to try to avoid that topic altogether. Yeah,
Yeah.
if there is a break, and it was very difficult to start off new if you've taken a break, and if you're not, if you're not in the same company, suppose you're taking a break and then you're trying to land yourself another new job, it is very difficult to explain it, and
Yeah.
and the kind of questioning that used to go behind it, I think that was, I would say, that was the culture at that point in time, that was the mode at that point in time. There was a lot of other
Yeah.
factors, no
Yeah.
no offense to the people who were there, but I'm saying that is what made it all the more, you used to be always in the defensive when you're explaining.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Today, I say when I'm talking to my mentees, and I have a live example of a lady who I was mentoring last year, and she was an early career professional, had just come back from her maternity leave, had taken up a new role. She had opted to take up a higher and a new role, and there was a struggle because she didn't know as to, should I give time to my child who's like early at that point in time, and probably about 2 years or whatever, and this new role that I've come across. It's an exciting role, but I'm being torn. How do I manage these two? The one thing which I always say, whether you're looking up for a new opportunity or you're looking up for a new role, it is going to be a lot of hard work for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That we need to do, but don't shortchange yourself.
Mm.
Don't shortchange yourself, as when I say, use your support system, whether it is at work or is it at home. Sometimes as females, I say this, we just tend to make things complicated in our minds. We will not go and ask. Yeah, don't, maybe my husband, our husbands will say, oh, but he can't do it. But did we ever ask whether he can do it or not? We
Sure.
probably never asked that question. Yeah. So we should be willing to ask that question. So create your support system. And I think here I take actually leeway from Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In. I learned a lot from that book. And that came at a very appropriate time for me as well. And I recommend that book to anybody who's kind of going through this question, saying that it is okay to lean in. And it is not, it doesn't show you any small, it doesn't make you any smaller. It is not that you're not supposed to be a superwoman. Nobody
Yeah.
expects you to do that. It's we
Yeah.
ourselves who expect ourselves to be a superwoman. So I think
Yeah.
leaning in, creating the support system, making sure that making sure that you say, okay, no, I can't do this, or yes, I can do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we also as women professionals, particularly, I would think, and this comes from my experience of coaching and mentoring with women professionals, is, oh, but I can't do it. It's too much of work and I don't think I'm ready for it. You don't have to be 100% ready. You could be
Yeah.
70%, 30 you learn on the job. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody expects you to know everything. I think
Yeah.
those are the bits that I definitely try to touch upon when I'm mentoring women
Wonderful.
professionals. Yeah.
Wonderful. Rashmita, we'll switch gears a little bit, and we would love to get into your role and about Lexmark as well. Lexmark obviously has a global presence; it's expansive, and what I think a lot of our community members want to know, given Lexmark's prominent position in Kolkata, one of the rare multinational companies which has its headquarters in Kolkata in India. Would love to know a little bit about Lexmark from your lens, um, something about the culture, and then we can get into a little bit more into the initiatives that you've been managing and running at Lexmark. So,
Sure. Thank you. And I think, yeah, Lexmark, for those who may not know it, just at the beginning, I would say that we were a spin-off from IBM. So that's where our
mm,
journey started 30 plus years ago. And today we, of course, we are one of the, one of the leaders in our in the print imaging solution system. But one thing which we have kind of been changing gear and very, very rapidly we've been changing is we've kind of made ourselves, or Lexmark has made it, um, using some of the newest technologies and
mhm,
some of the important factors about but the skills that we use or the technologies that we used are all new age. So
mhm,
Lexmark in Kolkata, this is a question which probably comes across to me from a lot of people across the country and outside as well, saying that how did Lexmark happen to be in Kolkata? I think
mm,
that's itself says that I think Lexmark as a company started its little journey here in Kolkata, but it kind of made sense because our talent market was here. Yeah, so we
mm,
wanted to leverage the talent market which was in Kolkata, and
yeah,
that is how we've started and we stayed on. It's not that if we started we couldn't have moved. Yes, they could have definitely made the move, and there have been many instances in the past or many discussions in the past which have kind of led to those conversations. But it is a conscious decision to stay in Kolkata because there's a lot of potential that we see, and I think today I can see that being leveraged quite well, being in the
mhm,
position that I am, particularly I would say post COVID. I would say
mm,
that the kind of talent which moved back home and we were able to leverage that, whereas other companies would have to have had to open their offices if they didn't have one. We didn't have to
yeah,
do any of those. Yeah, we were working remote as well, as in like we don't have to have people in office all the time, but we do have remote employees as well. But it has been a journey, and this I spent about 7 years now with Lexmark, but it has been a journey from where we started or where I was 7 years ago when it used to be like one of those it is considered the product company, as
mm,
as a lot of people call it by that
yeah,
name, not to just to talk about the differentiation, but the whole fact is that we believe that Kolkata has a lot of potential. We believe Kolkata has a lot of talent, and we want to continue to leverage that. And that is what Lexmark is looking at. Lexmark Kolkata is looking for. We don't have offices anywhere else. We do have an office in Bangalore, which is small, but our headquarters is Kolkata, and that is what we have stayed. Yeah, we move locations, but that's where we have kind of continued to stay. And
mm,
we are somebody who's been working in, as I said, in some of the new age technologies. And this is not today. In the
yeah,
20 plus years of the journey that Lexmark Kolkata or Lexmark India has done, we've always been somebody who's brought in the most newest technologies,
mm,
believed in training our people to be able to cope with that kind of technologies, to work on them, reskilling, upskilling, whatever you might want to call it. But this is what we have been able to give the opportunity to our people. And some of these things that we are working, that you're talking about today, you're talking about data. And we say that,
yeah,
your IoT as a service or data as a service. Those are things which used to be done by Lexmark even 10 years ago. So
yeah,
they're not new to Lexmark in that sense. So I would say that it's an upward and onward journey for Lexmark. That's
mhm,
how I put it out as. And with respect to growth plans, I think what happens is, I think I'm going to touch upon that
we see a
we
lot of
take very,
hiring posts coming from Lexmark, and we are very happy to see those, especially
yeah.
from Kolkata Calling. Yeah,
And if you see them, each of them would be very unique in themselves. That's
yeah,
the beauty of our hiring post, that we don't have any to you don't have a or a set. Batch processing is not what we do. We do like
mm,
very unique processing, and I would say it's a big thanks to Kolkata Calling that we've been able to reach out to so many people.
oh, thank you.
When we are doing those hiring posts that come out, and I believe that that's how I've probably landed. A lot of our positions have been closed because of the
Wow,
kind of
thank
reach
you,
out
thank you.
of Kolkata Calling. Yeah.
Rashmita, if you also can just go a little deeper into the Lexmark culture in India. I mean, globally,
Sure.
obviously, I understand it's present in multiple geographies. So every geography would have a little bit of their own cultural flavor. Uh, what is it like to work in Lexmark India? If you can talk a little about that, because there are some initiatives that we have seen and also shared with our community. And one thing that really was something that we haven't seen before. Maybe others will pick it up as they go along, but something around Lex Scholar, which is to encourage women in
Yes.
STEM. So if you can just give us a little quick overview of what's the culture like at Lexmark India.
Sure. I think, yeah, we do, as I said, like any company, we do a lot of initiatives, but there are certain uniqueness about us in terms of the initiatives that we have done, and something which we have consciously done, and it's not HR team which can take a complete claim to it because although I'm leading it, I'm saying that employer branding. That's something that we
Mm,
have consciously been trying to work upon because Lexmark was known, not that it was not known, but it was known in the pockets of people and things like that. So consciously, since the last 3 years, this is something that me and my team, and my team, when I say my Lexmark colleagues and my leaders, have been working very consciously towards making sure that the Lexmark branding is known across the board so that we can attract the best of the talent. That's the idea behind it. uh, very, I think, great place to work. Everybody talks about it, but we are truly the great place to work. So we have been certified twice, and it's not something that you take lightly, right? So it's
yeah.
not something that you take for granted. That's not
Hmm.
how it happens. So it's something like deliberately, mindfully, we have been making those, chipping away at those little changes that we bring in. And as a culture, I think we have moved to a very open culture. That's always been the trademark of Lexmark, but this is like something that we are propagating and talking about it. Every
Hmm.
individual is a leader. You could be joining directly from the college as a fresh
Hmm.
graduate. You
Hmm.
are a leader in your own self, and we believe in that. And that's the autonomy that is given to people. You choose the career that you want to bring yourself into. You make those decisions. We are all here to help you out. We are all here to talk to you, or you not need some mentoring, you need some coaching, you need conversations to happen, you need me to be a devil's advocate. More than happy to do that. But doors are
Hmm.
always open. Come and talk to us about anything that you're saying. Best one of the things which I love personally doing is when there is a problem, we all sit down together and solve it. It's
Hmm.
not an HR problem or it's not a business problem. It's a problem. And we all
Hmm.
need to put our heads together how to solve it. I think I'll talk about a small example here is post COVID, when we all came back to work, and we were working on a hybrid mode, like what Lexmark does today. 3+2
Yeah.
is how we work. And some of the employees, and I do my roundtables, I talk to employees, and then some of these employees were saying it's been a big challenge of how do I manage my meeting timings,
Hmm.
because I am meeting my US counterparts, I'm meeting my Cebu counterparts, and the meeting timings are such that because we were working from home, you could be available 24/7, so you could do your meetings at any point of time. But here I'm coming to work, and I need to also talk about that commute time. The
Yeah.
liberty was given to employees, saying that you decide what is your meeting time. You don't
Hmm.
have to do something that, because it works, it has worked in the past, doesn't mean that it'll continue to work. If it has
Sure.
changed, then we make it a point that please go and say, okay, fine, Thursday this time doesn't work for me because probably I'm traveling back from office and I need a little free time to kind of go back home, settle myself, and then do another call. You can decide as to
Yeah.
what time you come in, you can decide what time you want to go back, and you decide how your day works out. So that's the flexibility. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
autonomy, there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of independence in that thought, and that's what people appreciate. I will come to Lex Scholar, but before that, there's something that I would definitely want to touch upon is we have initiatives within the organizations which kind of bring about that creative juice in you. Yeah, so
Hmm.
we are a software company at the end of the day. So people are all about developing software. So when they're talking about developing software, they're talking about, you know, I have a problem. How do I make sure that I have a good solution for it? So we have initiatives within the organization which
Okay, I think we lost Rashmita for a few seconds. Viewers listening live, please do stay tuned. I think Rashmita should be back any minute. In the meantime, what I would request our live viewers uh, to share your questions with us in the LinkedIn chat. We already have one from Shubharu, which we will definitely get to and have Rashmita talk about that. But please feel free to share your questions. We would love to get those answered. And yeah, so let's see if Rashmita is here. Rashmita, I don't know if you can hear us. Hey, hi, Rashmita,
Yeah,
you're back.
yeah, I'm
No
so
worries.
sorry for that.
No, no, it
Like,
always, don't worry. These things are unpredictable. And
yeah.
yeah, and we were talking about working remotely. So these are challenges. I'll tell you one thing. So there was this popular, I would say, comic strip that came out, like modern Zoom meetings are like
Yeah.
the traditional seances, right? Where you invite spirits, like, Jessica, are you here with us? Can you hear us, Jessica? So it's like that, seances. But thank you so much. We are glad to have you back. So Rashmita, before this, we were talking about the autonomy that is placed in Lexmark employees, and I think a lot of that comes from the trust that the management puts in its employees, because you can
Yes.
have either theory X, theory Y, type A, type B. Do you trust people, give them autonomy, and then see how they do it, or you do always
Yes.
believe that they will not do something that's their inherent nature and we have to push them to do it? So yeah, please go on.
Yeah, I think it is. It is. You rightly said it's a lot about autonomy. Can I? I'm so sorry, but can I excuse myself for just a minute? I'm just gonna
No worries,
just
absolutely,
once.
please,
Yeah.
please. Yeah, yeah,
Once.
absolutely. Yeah, so while Rashmita joins us back, wanted to quickly thank Mainak, who I forgot to mention early in the intro today, but Mainak has been extremely helpful and an integral part of the team for creating a lot of the collaterals and uh, our presence on different platforms. So thank you, Mainak. And to reward Mainak's work, we would love for all of you to please follow our YouTube page. We have a YouTube page called Kolkata Calling. We are also present on Spotify and Amazon Music. The podcasts that we do are uploaded weekly there. So if you're not listening to us live, you can join and listen to those at any time at your leisure. A couple of things while Rashmita is back, I also wanted to talk about. We recently concluded the Kolkata International Book Fair as well as the Kolkata Literary Meet. So we would love to hear, see pictures from you. Those who attended those meets and those festivals, do share with us. We would love to socialize them from our page. Hey, Rashmita, hi, you're back.
I'm sorry. Again,
No
again, my
worries.
apologies to. Yeah. All right. So as I was saying, and you were asking about this, the trust. I think yes, that is what it means. That there's a lot of trust factor, which is at play. Because
Yeah,
if that bottom line of trust is foundation is not placed, then I don't think the rest of the things come into play. So I think it kind of that's what I was driving home about, saying
yeah,
that all of these factors is what is leading us to be certified as a great place to work. But now moving on to the Lex Scholar, and this is something
yes,
really again very close to my heart, is
yes.
this has been a thought always that how do we make sure that we are giving back to the community that we live in. We were
Hmm.
doing CSR activities, not that we were not doing, but this was something which was conceptualized under the banner of CSR, saying that we look for, so it's like a full 360 that we're talking about.
Hmm.
So we look
Yeah.
for hiring people from the colleges, and then
Hmm.
they come and join Lexmark, and then they build their career with Lexmark. But what if we are able to touch them even before that? So that's
Yeah.
when the thought came. We would like to, sponsor the education for female candidates or females who are meritorious. That's absolutely what we will definitely look at. But
Yeah.
they maybe help them along in their journey a little bit. We may not be making a big difference, but some amount of difference. And I would say it has been a great experience. It has been an overwhelmingly great experience. A lot of people have responded back to us with respect to sponsoring, and we've been able to do quite a bit of the sponsoring that we've been able to do. We
Yeah.
are also in the process of currently taking up a few more students in that journey. And as we go along, I think what I have appreciated, Subid, I would say, is the conversations.
Hmm.
Some of these females that I talk to, because I talk to each one of them
Yeah.
once we have made our final decisions, and the drives that I see, and I
Correct.
truly believe that there is a great future for them personally, as well
Hmm.
as whichever company they come and join, and to the workforce they're a force to reckon. They're a force to
Hmm.
reckon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that this is something which is something which is like it started as a giving back to the society, to the community, but I think it is more of something that I'm giving back to myself, and it
Yeah.
brings me a lot of pride and a lot of pleasure when I'm interacting with them and talking to them. So I would definitely say and people who are listening, I think if you have students who you think need some help, we are here. So please make sure that you reach
Wonderful.
out to us, and we can definitely help in whatever way we can do that.
That's absolutely wonderful. I believe the deadline to submit applications is 12th of March, if I'm not wrong.
Uh,
Or
no, that is for this year. We have closed it at this
okay, you
point of
already closed.
time, but it is a rolling deadline. Yeah, but it's a rolling deadline. So if you have applications, they can still apply, and we will
Wonderful.
consider in the next cycle that we would be running it.
Wonderful.
That's
We
usually.
will
And what
definitely
we do
share.
is sure. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm saying
I'm
we'll
just
definitely
saying
share.
it's not.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Rashmita. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm saying it's not just about, helping them in the education by just the money part of it, but what we also looking at is engaging them more so that they can leverage the experience and the knowledge that is existing within Lexmark. So maybe
Wonderful.
helping them through the interview process, helping
Hmm.
when they're ready for their campus placements, helping them through their projects in some way or the manner if there are any internships, because we also do internship programs, which
Wonderful.
is which is also unique in Lexmark India, that we have started doing internship programs for 3 months to 12 months. It depends on how you're placed. So those are various other initiatives that we have done to make sure that we just don't start the journey when you're coming and joining us. We start the journey a little ahead of the curve. That was
Yeah.
the idea behind it.
Wonderful. What I was saying earlier is we would definitely share the link to apply, and feel free to reach out to us, Rashmita, Lexmark, and her team. If you want more information around the Lex Scholar, please do submit nominations and applications for meritorious students who you think will benefit from this wonderful initiative at Lexmark. So thank you, Rashmita, for sharing that. Switching gears a little more, this is sort of our last segment that we want to cover, and that's probably very close to uh, our community's heart. Is, you know, you talked about uh, in your, Lexmark Kolkata, Lexmark India's journey, that you sort of based it out here, trusting the ability and the talent that exists in this market, and you've not been disappointed, you've been rewarded, and that's what continues to grow Lexmark in Kolkata for Lexmark India. uh, in your experience at Lexmark over the last 7 years, how have you seen the Kolkata or Bengal or this region's talent market evolve, whether it be around
Yeah.
their attitude, whether it be around their aptitude, the skills? How have you seen that evolve in the last 7 years that you've been here?
I think one thing which has always been there is there's a lot of drive in people. When
Hmm.
I'm hiring from the universities that I see here, and I think it matters as to where you're from. I think the fact that here's this company which is here in Kolkata, so I don't have to change my location, which is
Yeah,
a big given for a lot of people.
yeah.
Yeah, so that helps. So I think that is what has been a driving factor in most of our conversations. So people that we hire from are usually from the tier 1, tier 2 colleges that we hire from here these days. And people usually come from not just Bengal, they come from Orissa, they come from Bihar. So it is the entire eastern belt that we are talking about.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
matters that they are able to stay close to their home, as well
Mm,
as to make sure that they are able to, be gainfully employed. And the other thing which I have kind of witnessed and seen is the, the kind of experiences that each of them bring in.
mhm.
These days, I'm surprised when I look at students and then see that, oh, they've just not done their curriculum; they've done beyond it. And I'm like, wow, when did you ever get the time? Like, I remember talking to one of the graduates last year, and I'm like, gosh, I thought you had a full-time engineering program. Where else did you get time to do all of the other things? So the person says,
Mhm,
ma'am, because I had not cleared for computer science, because that
mhm.
was my coveted field that I
Yeah.
wanted to, and I had gone into another of the field, but I wanted to make sure that I can land a job in the software world. So
Yeah.
hence I made sure that I did things outside. So I think that's a very unique thing that I was driving, that I was getting across, saying that people are
Hmm.
so driven, they
Yeah.
want to make it possible. Yeah, make it. And people who we have onboarded, or people who've come and joined us eventually, I would also say that they have been also the energy of of the rooms. So they have
Hmm.
been those people who have brought in, of course, their skill sets. I'm not talking about their, the skill sets and the talent that they bring in, because that is obviously the reason why they have been hired. But having said that, there's a lot of energy that they bring in. There's a lot of traction that they bring into the whole environment. They are the people
Hmm.
who are able to drive maybe a few very unique initiatives within the organization. I think that's been something which I have seen as key. And
Hmm.
I think this is a funny one, but I would definitely mention,
Yeah.
because we don't have a lot of commute time, at least in Kolkata, not as
Hmm.
bad as some of the bigger
True,
cities.
true, true. Absolutely agree with
Yes.
that. Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing that we have here in Kolkata. So people are able to, kind of put in that kind of a time. I'm not saying that you should be putting extra hours. That's not definitely
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if you're doing, say, some kind of an initiative which involves you to talk about, or you're creating something new,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. So we have something called Focus to Future as a program wherein people create new things, new solutions to problems. Then you're able to put that kind of time, because you're not in a rush that, oh my gosh, I'm
I
going to be
agree.
hitting the traffic. And yeah, so that is what
I
has been
agree.
the.
I completely agree. And having worked in a few of the other metros, it's exhausting, frustrating, it's draining. The commute times, to be stuck in traffic, and a lot of those metros are now reeling with those problems,
Yeah.
and definitely it impacts productivity in employees. And I think creativity is one very big aspect that gets impacted because of this, the
Yes.
challenges in traffic and commute. Definitely. Rashmita, one question that, not a question, but uh, a flag that is often raised when we talk about the Kolkata talent ecosystem. And I had asked one of our previous guests, Abhishek Rungta, who is the CEO
Yeah.
of INT, uh,
Yeah.
is the recurring question around the pay differential, right? Uh,
Mhm.
People say that talent in Kolkata does not get valued and compensated justly or fairly as compared to other geographies or other metros.
Mhm.
And to that, and I'll just bring back Abhishek's response. He said that we value the skills and the contribution you bring to. So whether you are based in Kolkata, whether you're working from any other metro or you're coming from any other metro, we pay everybody based on their contribution. That's what we value.
Yeah.
So to you, because you are the HR head, you also have a strong influence on compensation policies, and setting those packages for hires. Do you see that the pay differential as a reality that exists, or is it a myth, or is it a perception? Would love to hear straight from you.
Sure. I think it's a very fair question. And I would say that I would
Hmm.
definitely point it out, saying that there was in the past. And
Hmm.
I'm not putting a timeline to it, saying that in the last 10 years things have changed, but I would definitely say things have been absolutely brought, now things are much better from where we started.
Okay. Hmm.
Particularly if I bring in Lexmark here into this conversation, and I would think that this is really true for other organizations as well, because I do
Hmm.
interact with other HR professionals in this landscape. Is there is no differentiation when it comes to the talent and the contribution, because that is what we pay for. And
Hmm.
this is a terminology that I use, is saying that it is about paying for what we get on the table. It doesn't matter where you bring come in from. For
Hmm.
that, in that case, what I would also mention, Subit, is it also in some cases, like when we are doing our benchmarking, or we are doing,
Yeah.
salary decisions are being made, we actually take into account the entire picture. It's not about, okay, this person, maybe a new employee or a experienced person, came in from a company which had his compensation at a particular point because
Sure.
of whatever their decisions were. But we have to make sure that that shouldn't play a big role in this, in while
Hmm.
we are making our salary decisions. It is about what is this person going to bring to the table? What is the potential that we see in the person? And the potential is, of course, based on what all he has done, he or she has done in the past. That's what we're going to
Sure.
base our decisions about. And it is about that individual. It doesn't matter, maybe his salary was X, but it was a reality sometime in the past, but now it is no more. Now it is
Wonderful.
no more
Wonderful.
because we can't. Yeah, I would say that we organizations would be blind if you were to do that. Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
difficult for us to attract any right
Yeah.
talent if you were to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think that is no more a reality in this
Yeah.
landscape.
No, and that's wonderful to hear. Rashmita, one question around this Kolkata thing is, a lot of us have come back post COVID to Calcutta because we made certain choices, reorganized our priorities post how COVID changed our lives. Um, what do you see that needs to change in the city or in the state to bring more talent back? Because I think it's sort of this cyclical chicken and egg problem that we always talk about. Is companies will come when there is talent here, talent
Yeah.
will come when companies are there. So, what do you feel needs to change to bring back more talent to Kolkata? Part A. And part B is one question that I'll take from our uh, community members' question in the comments, which is Shubharup asking any plans for Lexmark to expand the Kolkata R&D. So, both
Sure.
to you.
All right. So I think I'll start with the first one is yes, it's a chicken and egg story, but I think a lot of it is about changing that mindset. I'll
Hmm.
tell you of an example. The last year, I was participating in a panel discussion from International Staffing Federation,
Hmm.
and we had a lot of delegates who came in from outside of Kolkata.
Yeah.
And I remember one of them saying, I'm visiting Kolkata after 10 years. And this place is not the same that
Yeah.
I knew of. I knew Kolkata of this, slow, laid back, and I had certain mindsets. And
Yes.
I am
Yes.
talking about today that honestly, because I moved from Bombay to Calcutta as a career decision to
Mm.
start job here. And yes, there are certain differences. I wouldn't say that it's all,
Right.
but what I'm saying is there's a lot of mindset that it
Mhm.
used to be this. I
Yeah.
think when we are talking about branding, I think Kolkata also needs to be branded first
Sure.
as a software development hub or a landscape wherein ecosystem wherein startups are going to start up.
Yeah.
There's so many startups in this ecosystem. I think
Yes.
we need to be doing definitely more on the branding space or improving that mindset of people and I was really surprised when this person says, I can't believe this is the same Calcutta that I used to come 10 years ago and things
Yeah.
used to be like in a different mode, and here I'm seeing a very new Calcutta that I'm getting
Yeah.
across. that
Yeah.
that is what people should be talking about. That's what I think we need to be all working towards. And I would believe that this will not happen just by doing things from here as in like within being in
Yeah.
Kolkata. I think
Yeah.
it will also make a difference for what we call the Prabashi Bengali. So people
Yes.
who are living outside of Bengal, who are living outside in other parts of the world, they talking about what is the difference that
Yes.
Calcutta has seen.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I
Absolutely.
would think that that is, and I think coming on to the expansion program for Kolkata R&D, I consider the entire Kolkata India because we have we also have verticals by that name. But having said
Sure.
that, we are. You might have seen that we are going a little slow at this point in time because we are
Hmm.
also watching, like every other company, we are also watching the market
Yeah.
and the market situation, what's going around the world, because we also respond to the market situations across the world.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
you'll definitely see traction coming through over the next year, half year or so. But it'll be a little, we'll be mindful is what I'll see,
Mm.
but you'll definitely see traction coming in. So you will see maybe a few open positions at this point in time, but as we kind of make up our business plans and finalize our journey, what's our next step going to be, I think that's when you'll see more traction in the market. So you should be
Wonderful.
seeing more open positions coming in.
Yeah, and I think what our listeners should take away from this is that this decision is not specific to Lexmark Kolkata or Lexmark India, but
No.
the global technology and the business,
Correct.
I would say, landscape ecosystem has undergone some kind of expansion and contraction over the last couple of years. and
Absolutely.
people are still being very circumspect on what the potential is going to be, where things are going to move. So and that we've seen across every sector, right? Large
Absolutely.
macroeconomic forces being at play has caused businesses to be very careful and considerate on making expansion plans, which they had done probably a little hastily in the past, and then obviously
Yeah.
then we saw a large number of layoffs happening across large companies world over. So that's what I think the viewers should take away, that this is not a Kolkata thing, it's a global thing. And I think we'll obviously all come out of this stronger. And the India growth story, I think, has been well documented. McKinsey calling it India's century or India's decade. So I think there is a lot to look forward to for Lexmark India as well. Rashmita, I know we are over time, but we want to squeeze in a few questions before we let you go on Sunday. Uh,
Sure. It's
I know
okay.
you've shared a lot
Sure.
about your journey and helping people through your coaching and mentoring programs that you run. Two questions. One is any advice that you would want to give, mid-career professionals or senior professionals on what we just discussed, these uncertainties in the talent market, right? It's not
Yeah.
just startups that are a little unpredictable these days. Startup life, we take that risk because the reward and the upside is there, the promise of that is there. But even very stable MNC corporations also have gone through some talent market shrinkage uncertainties. So what would your advice be for mid-career and especially senior professionals who've reached a certain threshold of seniority? When they see these kind of uncertainties, what would your advice be for them?
I would say first things, and which I continuously continue to, which I always use is, it is the companies responding to the market situation. It has nothing to do with you. So
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, let's take out the personal in this. It is
Sure.
not about, if I were the person who's getting impacted, I would have to, kind of put myself out of the thing and say that it is not about me. It is
Yeah.
about how, yeah, how organizations are responding to how the market is behaving, and how, how the geopolitical situation is, how the things are playing out across the world. And the other thing which I would say is, continuously keep reinventing yourself, or invest in professional development. That doesn't go away anywhere. And this
Mm-hmm.
is something that I also use during my induction. So, surprisingly, a lot of people might say that, why would I say that? I say, you continue to invest in yourself. It doesn't matter whether you're part of Lexmark today, you're part
Yeah.
of company A tomorrow, or you're part of some other company, because that's not something anybody can take away from you.
Yeah.
So, continuous professional development, reinvent yourself. Find out
Yeah.
what is it that I need to do. And sometimes what happens is, maybe this is a good, apostrophe or a comma, as we want to call it, in your
Mm-hmm.
career, to make a conscious decision of what next.
Mm. Yes.
Just, yeah, just don't think about,
Take stock
just
of everything. Yeah.
take stock, yeah, and
Yeah.
look at things in perspective. I think COVID made that, made that conversation much more real, when it
Yes.
put things into, when it allowed us to put things into perspective as to what
Yes.
is my priority in life, what is my
Yes.
priority, what are my priorities in
Absolutely.
life. Sometimes what happens is, as I would say, as mid and senior, or particularly in seniors, we've been doing something and we continue to believe that that's what we should be doing. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
necessary. It could be
Yeah.
a different thing that you could be doing. Yeah, but having
Yeah.
said that, I think keep yourself adaptable. Make sure that you invest in yourself, in professional development, in reinventing the wheel. I think that's what will keep you going in this journey.
Wonderful.
I, did,
Rashmita,
did I miss
one last.
anything?
No, no, I think you've covered it all. One last question for young professionals, and we started this, I think, with why HR, and you
Yeah,
sort of started with that for narrative of how you got into HR. But for young professionals wanting to get into HR, HR, traditionally, again, just like Kolkata, probably, and I'm drawing a parallel here, we've had a certain mindset about what HR is, right? But
yeah,
just like Kolkata, I think HR has dramatically,
evolved.
drastically changed in the last 10, 20 years. So would love to know what your advice would be for young professionals wanting to get into a career in HR, and how you see HR having evolved and continuing to change.
Yeah, evolve. If you talk about an evolution, I think HR would be the first which comes to my mind. When I
Hmm.
started my career with HR, I think it used to be a support function. That's
Yeah.
what it was referred to as, and it
Yeah.
is no more a support function. So I would think that anybody who's looking for a career in HR, if you thought you could be in the sidelines and
Hmm.
get things done and you be a facilitator, I think
Yeah.
you need to rethink if that's the
Yeah.
journey that you want. Two things I would say. One was, of course, this one that you're not no more a support function. You have a seat at the table, but it is
Yes.
for you to make that seat at the table. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I think now CEOs and CHROs work hand in hand because
Yeah.
it's all about employees. It's
Yeah.
all about resources that we're talking about here. Previously, it used to be about your factory and your manufacturing and your shop floor and things. But at the end of the day, if you don't keep people in the place that if you don't retain your right talent, or if you don't keep the people where they
Hmm.
want to be, and take
Yeah.
care of their wellness, take care of their well-being and things like that, then you're anyway a lost cause. So I
Yeah.
would think that this is primary, that make sure that you understand that you have a seat at the table and there's a very serious responsibility with you. Second,
Hmm.
if you think you're done with math and that's why you want to do HR, sorry guys, take a break, I would say, because data is key.
Yeah.
Understanding analytics is something which I have understood is going to be your like a deal clincher almost. You
Yeah.
understand what data you have, how the data talks to you. As an
Yeah.
early career HR professional, try and get these two things done. I think you're on the right track to make sure that you're making a difference in the HR world.
Wonderful.
Uh,
No,
I,
I think,
yeah, what
yeah.
I did not say, and which is sorry, which I did not say, and which is obvious, is I think empathy is something which will stay
Yes.
with every one of us. Yeah. It
Yes.
is not about an HR or a marketing or anything. Anything that you do, I think,
Yeah.
bring up your EQ. Make sure that you're empathetic towards your, towards your customers, towards your employees, towards everybody that you work with. I think that'll take you places.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Rashmita. A lot to unpack, and I think I'll personally, re-listen to this podcast again because there's so many of those, wonderful insights that you peppered throughout this 1 hour. Lovely talking to you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, and I think our viewers and listeners will have greatly enjoyed and benefited from this session as much as I have in my personal capacity. So again, a big thank you to you from Kolkata Calling for joining us this podcast and making it so interesting and enlightening. Have a great Sunday,
Thank you.
Rashmita.
Thank you, Subit, and thank you. Big thanks to Kolkata Calling for making this, giving me this opportunity. And I am raring to see where Kolkata Calling goes because I do watch out for the posts, and I'm
Thank
sure
you so
everybody
much.
else does who's watching. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rashmita. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.